Work for us or do we work for the government? When all the power in the government aligns to accept as true something that you believe in your heart is untrue, what do? Tonight, personal courage and constitutional fidelity. Last night, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives rejected a move by House Speaker John Boehner that would have given the president the power to raise the debt ceiling by $1 trillion and dig deeper the hole into which 100 years of deficit spending has put us. It was effectively rejected because the Speaker lacked the votes to pass it. There was a time when Republicans stood for small government and maximum individual liberty, for the free market and for fidelity to the Constitution. Now its leadership stands for business as usual. Business as usual these days means that the federal government spends trillions it doesn't have, pushing the burden of repaying all those trillions onto generations of Americans as yet unborn, and increasing the tax obligations of present-day taxpayers to make hundreds of billions in interest payments almost immediately. And while all this is being done, the proponents of this madness, add to the debt and let future generations worry about repaying it, have actually argued that because they have agreed to decrease the rate of spending, but not the amount of spending, they are somehow cutting the debt. This is not true. All three debt ceiling proposals now being debated in the Congress, the so-called cut, cap, and balance deal, the Boehner temporary fix in the House, and the Democrats' tax increase in the Senate, all of them spend more money next year than was spent this year, and they all do this by borrowing. How can anyone possibly call this a cut in spending? How can anyone honestly contend that this will shrink the debt? How can anyone fail to see that a government that spends trillions more each year than it collects in taxes can possibly induce prosperity? And why would we entrust the machinery of government to people who think and act like this? None of these questions is difficult to answer, and all of them come down to telling the truth. Arizona Congressman David Schweikert, who opposes any increase in debt no matter what promises accompany the increase, impressed Freedom Watch so much 2 weeks ago when he told one of our Fox colleagues that telling the truth was more consistent with his values and more likely to achieve happiness than pleasing those in power or getting reelected. He's right. And the brilliant Christian apologist C.S. Lewis once remarked that the greatest trick the devil ever pulled off was convincing us that he doesn't exist. In other words, lying successfully. The same has happened to the big government folks. They have convinced themselves and many of their supporters that the obligation to repay debt doesn't exist. They think that they can spend borrowed money today and pay that money back with more borrowed money tomorrow. They reject the first principle that sooner or later the devil will get his due. Sooner or later all debts will be due. Sooner or later, if you don't pay your debt, it will master you. What the small government Tea Party-inspired Republicans in the House recognize that the big government Republican leadership does not recognize is that right now is a historic opportunity to reverse the spiral of debt. Right now, fiscally conservative Republicans alone, without the need for a single Democratic vote, and notwithstanding the socialist impulses from the White House, right now, simply by voting no, the Republic can be saved. The government can be shrunk, and your children and grandchildren can look forward to prosperity. But the choice is a bleak one. There is no middle ground here. Compromise here is an utter rejection of the laws of economics, because it comes down simply to this. If we stop borrowing, we will be free. If we keep borrowing, we will be slaves. The choice is obvious, and the choice is yours. From New York, defending freedom every night of the week. So long, America.